Wow, never did I think I'd be making a video about this at the start of June, but it's true. Michael Carrick has been sacked as Boro's head coach. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and yes, we're here to discuss some major Boro news, and it is the changing of the head coach. It was dropped today on Boro's website in a very short, very concise, rather blunt statement, you could say, that Michael Carrick had been relieved of his duties. It says Middlesbrough Football Club had today parted company with head coach Michael Carrick. Michael's assistants Jonathan Woodgate and Graham Carrick have also departed the club. We'd also like to thank Michael, Jonathan and Graham for all their hard work and unwavering commitment. We wish them all the very best for the future. The club will be making no further comment at this stage. Now, of course, this has come off the back of the much discussed internal review, which I think many fans were at one point just starting to wonder if there was even a review happening at all. 4 weeks have passed since the end of the season for Boro, and it felt like, in my eyes anyway, this is how I felt, that with every passing day that we heard nothing from said review and the radio silence continued, the more likely it would be that things were just staying as you were and Boro would be going into next season with Michael Carrick at the helm. We were all awaiting some change. Would it be a change of backroom staff, recruitment? What is the result of this review? Some even doubted whether it even existed, but here we are. We have the answer, and it is that after 4 weeks, Boro have decided to part ways with Michael Carrick. Now, I've obviously gave my thoughts on Carrick on numerous times here on the channel, so it'll be nothing that you guys haven't heard before, but I've always been open for a new manager if the right guy was available for me. I think the overall emotion surrounding this sacking is sadness, I would say. A lot of Boro fans, I think, are quite sad that it hasn't worked out. I think it's more down to just the likability of Michael Carrick, and I, like most Boro fans, have wished him to do well and would love nothing more than to have seen him gotten this club to the Premier League. But I think it's become clear over the last 6 to 8 to 12 months that was not going to happen, and a decision would likely need to be made. So as much as it's a sad decision, it seems to be that it is the right one, and that's how most Boro fans feel. But why has it come after 4 weeks? That's another big question. A lot of people would question why this wasn't done earlier, why the sacking wasn't done as soon as the Coventry game was finished. It was pretty clear, you could say, that Boro had failed and underachieved massively. Earlier on in the season, finishing 10th, it's just not been good enough for a good long while now. For a couple of seasons. So you could ask the question of why it took 4 weeks to get to this point, but the messages coming out of the club after the very end of the season were that keeping Michael Carrick was something the club were very much behind, and it seemed like, and I think I remember mentioning this on the channel, that it looked like an almost a last case scenario that Boro wanted to get rid of Michael Carrick. That was the final resort, you could say. And now here we are, 4 weeks later, and that final resort has come to fruition. So I do wonder if, over the last 4 weeks, Boro have been trying to negotiate with Michael Carrick, trying to discuss what changes need to be done, because I think it was clear as well, the club even recognised that the changes weren't just at the fault of the manager. They were looking into everything, fitness, recruitment, the number of injuries we had, all the stuff on the field as well as off it too. So I think maybe they've took a good few weeks to try and put a plan together for whatever Boro want to do and want to do going forward, whether that was changing the coaching staff, changing the way the head coach works with recruitment, or whatever it may be. And perhaps they've just come to the conclusion that Michael Carrick wasn't willing to take on them changes. Maybe it isn't as straightforward as, you've not done good enough, therefore you're sacked, because I wasn't sure if whether Boro finishing 10th was a sackable offence. It was undoubtedly a failure and questions needed to be asked. But maybe Steve Gibson didn't see it as a sackable offence. They just tried to maybe put forth a couple of changes to Carrick that they wanted to look at doing next season, and maybe Michael Carrick just didn't agree with them. Maybe they just weren't able to come to an agreement as to how they wanted things to be set up going into next season. So it could be that. It could also be that, this decision has been likely for a while now. Steve Gibson's had this thought for a while, and maybe Boro have just been waiting to see if they could get a replacement ready, and the right replacement ready, because you're not going to sack a manager and not have the right replacement ready if you're a half-decently well-run club, in my opinion. So at the same time, maybe this has been the thought and the opinion of the club for a few weeks, but we've been waiting to chat with, negotiate, and maybe get a new manager ready to come in. So, in the next few days, we might be looking at whoever Boro's next manager is, and there never is usually too big of a gap between the statement that says Boro have sacked ex-manager and then brought in whoever is next. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the coming days. We may never know the exact reasons as to why this has happened, whether it was a disagreement between what they want to do going forward, or maybe they just looked at Carrick and felt like we were at a point of no return. But as I've said for a long time, for me, this was the right decision. I'm happy with this decision. And the most important thing is I'd much rather see the club make the decision now, with a pre-season, with a summer transfer window for the new manager to come in and get their teeth stuck into, rather than us try and start next season with barely any credit in the bank, no room for error with fans, things start really bad, and we get to October, Boro are languishing in the bottom half somewhere, and we end up having to make this change mid-season anyway, which of course is a lot more disruptive than doing it now. So I think the right decision has been made, and I think the right decision has been made in terms of the timing as well. So I'm all happy with this, but of course I am massively, massively nervous in terms of who Boro might bring in. That's sort of the next topic, who is next on Boro's list. Numerous, managers and head coaches have been linked. I don't think I've got many managers that I would absolutely be desperate to bring in at this moment. I mean, obviously, Danny Röhl is one I'm a big fan of, but we believe he might come with compensation, maybe a fee Boro would have to pay. They're of course having to pay Michael Carrick out of his contract as well, so I don't know how the costs of that might level out. The big links so far are Steve Cooper and Rob Edwards. I wouldn't say I'm particularly either massively for or against either. I think they've both got pros, they've both got cons, they've both got promotions, but they've both also had a couple of sticky spells in their careers, but which managers haven't. I do think they'll probably bring a manager in that can step into the role pretty seamlessly, so the setup, the style of play, it all won't change too drastically, which I'm massively in favour of too. But I would like Boro to be a bit more imaginative in terms of the new manager. Look at what we did when we brought in Aitor Karanka. It was a left field signing that ended up being an absolutely, groundbreaker. So maybe we have to look at a Reggie Labrise type manager, or someone completely left field who we've maybe never heard of before, and that's down to Kieran Scott. That's his job, just as much as he scouts players for Boro and keeps his eye on a number of footballers throughout the seasons to scout for Boro's team, he's also got to do the same for managers. So we'll see if there's a number of managers he's had on his scouting list for a while and who Boro go for, but I'm not massively set on either Cooper or Edwards. I would like Boro to maybe look outside of the usual British manager merry-go-round that we always end up going for with proven championship managers, none of which have worked before. So why not do something a little bit different? Why not do something a little bit more outside the box? But for me, happy with this. As I've mentioned, we've sadly regressed under Michael Carrick. There's no signs of things turning around. There's been numerous issues at the club that didn't look like they were ever going to be solved. Our home form has continued to be really, really average. Our defence has continued to be really poor. We've consistently conceded 50 plus 60 goals every single season. And, you look at the points finishes, you look at the positional finishes, 4th, 8th, 10th. We are probably further away from promotion now than we were when Carrick first come in after that initial first 6 months. So, yeah, I'm open for a change. I'm intrigued to see where we go from here. And I'm also very intrigued to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, whether you think it was the right decision or not, as well as who you'd like Boro to bring in to replace him. And of course, if there's any news on that, I will be bringing it to you guys here on the YouTube channel. And there will be a special Project Boro podcast coming over the next 2 days. I didn't think we'd be filming another one this soon, but me and Chris are going to be jumping on together to discuss this in far more detail over the next coming days. So subscribe for all that good stuff as well. But until next time, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Lots to discuss lots to speculate. This is a huge moment in the current history of Middlesbrough Football Club, and it's massive that we get the next appointment right. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for the next coming days and weeks. But until then, do take care, guys, and I'll see you all